new heights of growth and success. Leadership Talks with L. Wayne Smalls is an inspiring and uplifting show that focuses on the principles of leadership that allows leaders to achieve new heights of growth and success. Wayne Smalls is the CEO of L. Wayne Smalls & Associates, LLC, a leadership training and coaching company that uses bridge-building leadership principles that help leaders to create long-lasting legacies as they pave the way for the future leaders that follow them.
Good evening. How is everyone doing? I hope you are having a great evening. I hope you had a wonderful day. And if you did not have the best of days, the evening is still not over yet. You still have time to change your mindset, change how you think and look at things. And you will notice that things will start to look just a little bit different if you change your mindset. Good evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Smalls. I am the CEO of L. Wayne Smalls Global Leadership Consulting, LLC, and that is a change to the name. Ladies and gentlemen, we used to be called L. Wayne Smalls & Associates, but we have since changed our name for the better because that is exactly what we do. We do leadership consulting around the globe. That is our vision, and that is exactly what we do. And tonight, we have something very important to talk about because if you leader, if you are interested in seeing some exponential growth in your organization, this is going to be the show for you because we're going to talk about dynamic expansion, the power of dynamic expansion. And you may say, well, what is dynamic expansion, Wayne? I am so happy that you asked me that because I'm getting ready to tell you all about it. So we're going to jump right into this right now and get going. And I want to talk to you about a gentleman by the name of Paul. We'll just call him Paul by his first name for the purposes of this lesson tonight. But Paul is known all around the world for his ability to experience and create exponential growth in his business, in his organization, whatever you want to call it. He became a master at dynamic expansion or exponential growth. So how did he do that? He did this by four major components. The first of which is he was able to attract first and then equip the right people. He had the ability to find the value in people and see them for their strengths and see the potential in them. And then he decided that he would be able to mentor them and get them where they needed to be, not only for his purpose, but for their own personal growth and development. So that was the first component. The second one is he was able to find and mentor emerging leaders. And we're going to talk about how important that is in just a minute. But think about it. You're a leader. How often are you able to look at an individual and see the value that they have in them? And it may only be in potential form at that time, but you can see that potential in them and you're able to identify their strengths and then begin to mentor them so that they can become that leader that you see the potential for them to be. That's very important for all of us as leaders. As we continue to grow and develop ourselves, it is that much more important that we continue to grow and develop the people that follow us. And in this class, we're going to be talking about how we develop other leaders. The third component that we're going to talk about is this. Mr. Paul was able to create new organizations. He was able to, so to speak, build something from nothing. He was able to take potential energy and turn it into kinetic energy in the form of developing leaders who would be able to carry on a mission even if he was not there. It's not good enough to be able to have success only when you're present as the leader. You're truly successful as a leader when you're not there. And the mission still goes forward. The operation still continues. And you're still achieving the same amount of success in your absence as if you were there. That's when you have reached true success. And then the fourth component is that Mr. Paul was able to engage in the ongoing development of leaders. He found it more important to focus on developing leaders much more so than developing more followers. And here's why. Mr. Paul was able to discover that his influence and his reach would be much more greater. It'd be much greater if he was able to multiply his influence by developing leaders, because as an individual, we cannot touch more than a set amount of individuals. But if we develop leaders, those leaders are going to go out and they're going to have people that follow them, and they'll be able to influence those people. And guess what? That influence will also be an attribute to your leadership and your influence. So the more leaders we develop, the more opportunity we have to experience that exponential growth and that dynamic expansion. And I want you to remember this term throughout this lesson and even after that: dynamic expansion. So we talked about the 4 major components, and now we're going to spend some time talking about how we can achieve and reach the successful completion of these components, and start really seeing some of that exponential growth right in our organizations. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It does not have to take a long period of time. Yes, it is a process. Everything is a process. If you're getting results overnight, that's luck, and it's probably going to run out sooner rather than later. What we want is that exponential growth that continues to grow over time. And even when we're gone, that influence continues on. That's how you create a legacy. And that's what we're all about here. We're helping leaders create a legacy of leadership that lasts for generations, not just for a few days, not just for a few years, for generations. I'm thinking about my children. I'm thinking about my children's children, and even further than that. And that should be the mindset of every great leader. Notice I said great leader. Everyone is not thinking like that. And I'm not going to sit here and say that every leader has that mindset. That is not the case. But if you haven't been thinking about that up until this point, but you see where I'm going with this, and you're interested, and you see the value in what I'm saying, this is where we're going. This is what we want. We want for every leader that gets it to really understand how you can really multiply your influence as a leader and multiply the levels of success that you can have through the generations. And that's what we're talking about. So think about leaders who really don't care about developing other leaders. They just want the numbers. They want more people to follow them. They want more people to need them. Why is that? Why is that? Is it because we need to feel needed as a leader? Is it because we have some insecurities that we don't want exposed? Is it because we're fearful that once someone doesn't need us anymore, that they're going to leave us? Well, guess what? That should be the goal. That should be the goal. Richard Branson has a quote that goes something like this. I'm not quoting it verbatim, but it basically says that we should treat people as leaders. We should treat people so well that they can leave, but we treat them so good that they don't want to. And now that I think about it, that was verbatim. Richard Branson, you can look that up. But we should be treating people so good that they don't want to leave, even when they can leave, when they're capable of leaving, and they're capable of surviving and thriving and being successful without you. That is the goal when you're a great leader, because when they go out, they're going to have influence. They're going to have people following them. And that's going to be the result of your influence multiplying. And when you get that up here and you have it here, you can truly reach success. You can truly have the influence that many leaders want to have. That I have a dream of my own of leaving a legacy for long after I'm gone. I don't want to just leave a mark. I want to leave a mark of success. I want to leave a legacy of leadership for generations to come. Why? I don't exactly know why, but that's just the way it is. God placed that in my heart, and that's how I'm living. That's what I'm living. Every single day, my purpose is to become better and also to help others become better. How about you? What is your dream? Do you have a legacy in mind that you want to leave behind for others? What is it? Think about that. So, Leaders who gather followers need to be needed. We talked about that. Leaders who develop leaders want to be successors. So, for my children, I'm not in competition with any of my kids. As a matter of fact, I want all of my children to be better than me. When I'm no longer here, where my life ends, I want their life to begin. I want them to start where I leave off. I don't want them to start from scratch. I don't want them to have to figure it out all from nothing. I want them to have something to really build upon. So I work hard every day in order to make that happen. I want them to be successful because of my hard work, but I want them to continue that on. I don't want it to stop when I'm gone. And think about it. If you are a leader and you leave tonight is your last day, you pass away and you're gone, and all of your hard work stops right there, that's a failure. Why? Because there's no legacy there. There's nothing to continue on. There's nothing to be left behind for someone else to pick up and run with. So we have to create these legacies through our work while we're here and instill the same type of mindset in the people that we're mentoring, making sure that they understand how important it is to create, build upon, and leave a legacy. Moving right along. Leaders who gather followers focus on people's weaknesses. Leaders who develop other leaders, they focus on their strengths. Now, have you ever had a boss, a supervisor, or anyone that was over you as a leader in a leadership position that liked to focus on your weaknesses? I have. I've had that experience. I've had the opportunity to work for people that really try to make me feel bad or tear down my morale or lower my self-confidence. I don't know why. Basically, it's kind of like, I need you to need me, so I'm going to continue to make you second guess yourself and make you want to ask me for every single move, when naturally I'm not that type of person. And so I can recognize when someone's doing that to me. And it has happened to me before. Has that happened to you before? Have you ever experienced someone who would rather give you a criticism before they give you a compliment? And it's sad to say, but there are a lot of leaders out here like that. But great leaders, we focus on the strengths of people. We see value in them. We don't want to tear them down. And I'm not saying ignore weaknesses. What I'm saying is we focus on the strengths. Anyone that you find that has potential to do something great also has weaknesses. So we can focus on people's weaknesses all the time. But the goal here is to build people up. You can continue and build on a strength while you are working on some weaknesses. And we all have weaknesses, but as a leader, if we're really trying to create that environment of growth, and we're really trying to experience the multiplication of our influence, then we ought to be focusing on people's strength. Okay? Moving right along. Leaders who gather followers focus on the bottom 20%. Leaders who focus on gathering followers focus on the bottom 20%. In other words, you're focusing on those people that you really don't see that much value in them. You really don't see that much potential in them, but you spend time with them, and you're spending time, but you're not necessarily investing. So the followers will take up more of your time because you have to keep repeating yourself. You have to keep explaining things. You have to keep going over the same stuff that you go over all the time, while the other people that are your emerging leaders or your potential leaders, they're not necessarily they're not a priority to you, basically. If you're really trying to gather more followers, you don't necessarily care about your emerging leaders. You want to focus on the followers so you can get your numbers up. But the great leaders recognize that we have to invest the time in those emerging leaders. Here's why. The sooner you can put that investment in your emerging leaders, they're going to be okay. They're going to go off. They're going to do what they need to do. They're going to excel. They're going to continue to grow. You spend time with them. You're investing that time. But the return on your investment is going to manifest itself much sooner than when you are focusing all of your attention on the followers. The followers will eat your time up because they need you. They need to have you hold their hand. They need to get that guidance from you every step of the way. They're not going to take the initiative because they're afraid to, for whatever reason. So when you invest that time in your emerging leaders, they got it. And they go off and they do their thing. And they only need minimal supervision to make sure that they haven't missed something here or there. But other than that, they're good. The great leaders understand that. The great leaders recognize that. So, are you investing your time with your emerging leaders? Or are you spending up most of your time with the followers? I don't know. You tell me. Leaders who gather followers spend their time. Leaders who develop leaders invest their time. We just talked about that. If you're really trying to create that atmosphere and environment of growth, you understand that you really have to focus that attention on your leaders. And I'm repeating that somewhat because that's how important it is. We have to make sure that we get those emerging leaders. We get those ones that we recognize already they have the potential to be leaders. We spend the time that we need to spend with them, that investment, and then let them go and do what they need to do. And then you can focus on the followers, so to say, because those followers will most likely continue to be followers for a much longer amount of time than your emerging leaders. Next, leaders who gather followers ask for little commitment. Leaders who develop leaders ask for great commitment. Think about that for a minute. If I know that you're a follower, if I know that you're really not trying to lead and you're really not trying to take on any real responsibility, your level of commitment is not going to be that high. But when you're that emerging leader, you understand that there's a commitment that has to take place. There has to be really delved in deep inside. It's something that you have inside you already. When you're the emerging leader, you want to make that commitment. And so it's up to the leaders like us to recognize this in our people. When people are following us, we have to recognize who is who. Are you an emerging leader or are you just a follower? Now, some people will tell you, I'm not a leader. You know me, I disagree with that to an extent. However, if a person believes that they're not a leader, then they're not, because they're not going to do the things that it takes to be a leader. Your mindset is going to dictate your actions. So I have to focus. I have to make that investment in my emerging leaders because they're going to pick up the ball and run with it. And they're going to help me to get the rest of the group on board. They're going to help me spread my message. They're going to help me achieve my mission. They're going to help the entire organization to grow, and we'll spread our influence out a whole lot faster, and we can bring people along with us. But if I am by myself trying to do that with a whole group of followers, I'm going to experience a slower progression of growth. I'm not going to reach that dynamic expansion because I have too many people that are slowing me down. And that may sound a little negative, but it is honest. And when we recognize that, we can focus our attention on those people that have that potential to be the leaders of the future, or those people that have that, they've shown the ability to lead. We can pour into them, develop them, and get them on their way so that they can add to the leadership dynamic in that organization. That's very important. Very, very, very important. Now, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit and flip over the coin. If you are following someone who happens to be a person that is more interested in having a large number of followers, if you're following someone like that, you really have to make some decisions. Is this a place where you need to be? Is this really the place where you're going to experience the growth that you need to experience for you to walk in your purpose? That is a very serious question to ask yourself. I'm not saying that you should leave. I'm not saying anything. What I am saying, you just have to evaluate your situation and make sure that you're doing the right thing for yourself and the rest of the team or the rest of the group. There are those leaders out there that will hold you down because they don't want you to grow too much. They don't want you to be too successful. So you have to determine for yourself, what situation are you in? This is not to say that your leader is like that, but you do have to do some analysis for yourself and make sure, because at the end of the day, God gave you a purpose. God gave you a mission, and he expects you to accomplish it. And that is going to be determined by how you maneuver yourself in certain situations. So keep that in mind. Leaders who gather followers impact this generation. Leaders who develop leaders impact future generations. Did you get that? Leaders who are worried about having more followers can only impact this generation right now, the present. But if you're a leader that focuses on developing your leaders, helping them to become great leaders themselves, you are going to make a mark for future generations. And again, that's what we said we're about. We are helping leaders create a legacy of leadership for future generations. And if that is your mantra as well, then this is what it's all about. This is what we need to do. We need to develop our leaders. Put them in a position that they can go out and be great leaders and repeat the process. Repeat that dynamic growth. Every time that process is repeated, your influence as a leader also increases. Your level of touch. You might not be able to physically touch everyone that you influence, but you will definitely have the ability to still influence through everyone that you do touch. So when you're developing more leaders than followers, your ability to experience exponential growth goes through the roof. So I ask you, what type of leader do you want to be? You want to have a bunch of followers, a bunch of yes men and women, a bunch of people around you that just do enough to get the job done and get a little paycheck and go home? Or do you want to have people around you that have totally bought into your mission? They've bought into your vision. They're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. They're willing to help the entire organization to grow. That's what I am. I want to be that kind of leader. I want to be the kind of leader that can look at an individual and spot their potential and help them to develop that potential. Does that work for everyone? No, it doesn't. Sad to say, some people are just happy where they are. They have no intention of growing. They don't want to grow, and that's fine for them if that's what they want to do. But I know that I need to focus on those individuals that I see it in them and they want to grow, and it's my responsibility to help them. How about you? How you feel about that? So it takes a good leader to gather a group of followers and lead them to achieve a worthy goal. But it takes a great leader to lead other leaders. And that is true. I know that to be true myself. You can't be a weak leader and you have a bunch of other leaders that are supposed to be following you. You can't, it just does not work. It just does not work. I know that firsthand. I've had some not so great leaders in my career, in my life, and I've also had some really great leaders. And I saw the difference. I still see the difference today. When you care about your people, you're going to do everything you can to help them to grow, help them to develop, help them to learn, help them to be the great leader that they've already shown the potential to be. When you don't care, you just want a bunch of followers, you get what you get. And you really hurt yourself at the end of the day. When you're not doing all you can to develop your leaders, you're really hurting yourself, and you're really stunning your own growth as a leader, and you're stunning the growth of whatever organization it is that you're a leader in. So we have to find ways to make this work. And I know we're all busy. We all have things to do. We all have a bunch of stuff going on, running here, running there. However, we have to find the time. We have to create the time to do what's necessary to experience that growth. That growth is what's going to get us where we want to be anyway. We can work smarter and not so hard, or we can work real hard and try to have a bunch of followers that really won't take any initiative, really won't do anything above the standard. They do just enough. And we see that all the time, don't we? So I'll ask you again, what type of leader are you? Mr. Paul figured it out. He understood. He understood his mission. He understood his purpose. And he knew good and well he couldn't do it all by himself. So he had to enlist the help of everyone that he could to get him to reach that level of influence. Dynamic expansion. If someone would do me a favor and hashtag that, dynamic expansion, the power of dynamic expansion. This is what takes a great leader and make him or her even greater. Understanding the importance of valuing others. And when you can see the value in other people, you're going to spend more time in them. You're going to want to invest that time to make sure that they get the development that they need, that they have the resources that they need, and that the opportunities are presented to them. Or when the opportunities come, that they're ready. As a leader, I want to make sure I do that for my people. I want to make sure I'm setting them up for success. And again, their level of success is a reflection of my leadership. At least that's my mindset, and that's how I treat it. I want to make sure anyone I'm mentoring, anyone I'm leading, has the best opportunity to be successful. And when I do that, then I feel like I've done my job. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking about the power of dynamic expansion. And again, if someone would do me a favor and hashtag that for me, I want to send that out. Hashtag dynamic expansion. That's all I have for tonight. I want to thank everyone that chose to watch us tonight, and everyone that's following us on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this. Please like and share this video with all of your contacts. This information is so important. We have so many bad leaders out here. We want to make sure that we get the word out to help people to grow. And it's not always that people are bad leaders. Some of them are. But some people just don't know better. So when you know better, you can do better. And that's something that we all should live by. When you know what's right and what's wrong, you know what to do. So that's my message. That's what I really want to relay to everyone. We all have room to grow. We all have room to learn. And that's another thing. Please, 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 leaders, please, please, make sure you stay teachable. Because you don't know everything. I don't know everything. We have to stay in a mode of learning. Learning is what gives us more power to help other people. That's what we do with that information. We help other people. All right. So I want to thank all of our sponsors, L. Wayne Smalls Global Leadership Consulting, Mind Power, CCI, and everybody that's interested in becoming a sponsor. You can hit us up on our website, www.lwaynesmalls.com, or give us a call, 910-566-0238. Again, I hope you have a great rest of your night. Take care. God bless you. And we'll see you next time.